Hey guys, it's Shauna McKenzie, founder of Best Kept Self, and we are going to get our webinars over wine started for this month. And the exciting thing is tonight was also the same night that we had our team meeting. So we have most of our collective here with us. Everyone say hi, which is super awesome. So we're all here with you. And of course, I'm sitting right next to Margaret, who's going to be your host for the night. So first and foremost, I hope you all have your favorite cocktail or favorite glass of wine in hand. We do for sure. Megan's going to be taking care of making sure our drinks are filled throughout the night. And I am super, super excited for this month's topic. Myself and two others in our collective do not have children, but I went through the run-through with Margaret the other day, and I learned so much that I am storing away for the future. So it was so incredibly valuable for me, so I can't even imagine how this is going to be for our awesome working moms that are on the call. So Margaret Bjork, I have known this awesome woman for years. She was probably one of the first people that I met in Charleston for the most part when I moved down here. Margaret is a corporate powerhouse. She is a top sales leader in her company. She has always had an entrepreneurial spirit as well ever since I've known her. So she's not only rocking it out at work, but she's always had side projects that she's super involved with and passionate about. And of course, she is our go-to coach for working parents for Best Kept Self. And ever since I've known her, doing all of these things, married to an awesome guy, she has two small children, she has just managed to do it all with a smile on her face. And even when she's stressed out, it just, if she is, we don't see it. She just does it so incredibly graceful. There's so much to learn about the juggling act that she's doing, and she really has just an amazing strategy and process in place that she's going to share with you tonight. So with that, there's a chat bar next to you to the right. So if you have any questions or comments, just be sure to put those in the chat. You can send a private message to Margaret if you want her to answer a private question. She will not say your name, and no one else will see that question. But if you do have something private, you can send that to her and she'll address it. Leave any comments, leave any questions. Please interact with us. We're all here. And if you have any other questions or if you're not hearing anything, please type that into the box as well and we'll get that resolved. And then last thing is we will have the recording sent out to you tonight. You'll get an email like you did last time if you were on last month's call, and you'll be able to listen to that at any time. So with that, I'm going to pass it on over to Margaret.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, this is Margaret Bjork, and I'm so glad to be here and so glad to be part of Best Kept Self, and glad to spend the next hour or so with all of you. So, just to kind of talk about where we're going to, what we're talking about as we're all raising children and working, and whether you're working out of the house or working or staying home, we all know it's a lot of work. And just kind of want to take us down a little bit of a path of, oh, am I pushing the wrong thing here?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
There you go.
Just to kind of remind us back to kind of how we started with our spouse. There we go. So I don't know if you can remember back to dating and newlywed days, and the day you got married, and you're just partners in crime, supporting each other's dreams, picking up each other's slack, owning the housework. Owning the housework really only included mostly decorating. 3 loads of laundry a week that you were kind of maybe we'll do our towels separately. You ran the dishwasher only every few days if you had a dishwasher, and your cooking was cooking fancy meals and pairing wines. So pretty nice time. I remember kind of at our wedding, and at other times people kind of tell you, oh well, it's not going to be easy, and you're kind of, I remember thinking and talking to Eric, my husband, kind of being like, what are they talking about as we, fall into bed together each night, wanting to kiss each other and wanting to do everything together. And then next thing that you have this great blessing of children, and somehow things get a little different. And all of a sudden, it looks a little bit more not like partners in crimes, but somehow like roommates who kind of operate in the same sweatshop where the shift never seems to end. So decorating now is a little less focused on the chevron pattern of your pillows, but is more about getting toothpaste off the wall. You can easily do 3 loads of laundry a day, running the dishwasher at least once a day, and you become a short order cook for your whole family. So it's, things kind of get pretty intense pretty quickly, but at the same time, you have these wonderful blessings of children, and it's a lot of fun. So, this is kind of where the story gets a little unbalanced. And as moms, we often kind of pick up the slack. And I think especially with your first child who, unless there's a kind of a major issue like colic or, heaven forbid, something more serious, it's, I think we all found that, you can handle it. And I think that's another funny thing. People always say, oh, you're going to have kids. Well, good luck with that, or hope you never want to sleep again, or gosh, why are you doing that? You're like, holy crap, like what is wrong with these people? And then you find, while it is certainly challenging, it's not the hardest thing you've ever done. And in fact, you're pretty good at it. And probably like most things you are in life, you like being good at things. And so, you kind of, that maternity leave, it's your kind of 3 months at home, and your spouse typically goes back to work, and for those 3 months, it is your job to kind of take on that home and take on the ownership of the kids. And so it's easy to understand how we get to a point with our spouse where it's more focused on kind of who did what last than our earlier state of, are we having, Pinot Noir or a Malbec tonight? More like, are we having a Malbec and a Pinot Noir? So what we're going to talk about, and what we're going to try to get to by the end of the hour, and it might be a little longer than an hour, is how we want to get to a state that looks a little like this. So this is me and my husband and our nanny Ansley and our 2 kids. Johnny is the older one, given the kind of death stare there, and Max is sideways. And, this is where I think is a really realistic look to what a life can be. It's never easy. It's certainly never perfect. But the goal is to have everyone in it, to have everyone kind of looking forward and being participating. And I think Ansley here in the middle is not an accident. There is also a really key component of this, of having help, and whether that's a nanny or something else, that extra 20% I think is this really huge piece that's going to help keep everybody, with smiles on their face. Going to the next slide here. So we talked a little bit about when things get unbalanced on maternity leave, and then we go back to work. So we've done our 3 months. We've it's not long enough to, as long as we want, but it's also long enough to kind of set some pretty standard patterns, So you're going back to work, and you're not only going back as your current, as your role that you left, but you're going back as this new role, supermom. So not only are you working, but the babies are still getting up at night. You're either getting up to nurse or getting up to do bottles. You're pumping at work or washing 18 bottles a day. You're probably 18 is a little exaggeration. Maybe 9. You now have a nanny or a daycare to manage and work with. You all of a sudden you have to leave the house and be home at a certain time. And I think the unwelcome commentary starts at this point. Oh, do you have to work? Or, are you leaving them at a daycare? Or, I heard mom's don't like work as much, and just kind of these little kind of comments that start to come at you that, while you're a little tired and from getting up at night and getting used to your new role can not be super appreciated. It kind of can get under your skin. So now we've kind of created this new normal. And I kind of think these next statements are kind of, depending on how you're feeling that second, can kind of depend on what you're thinking. So, this first one is sometimes how I often feel, and this kind of a little bit resentful. And, it's a little embarrassing to even say that word is, again, you're so happy and blessed and lucky to have healthy children and spouses and jobs and houses with chevron pillows. It's a little hard to feel that resentment with all these wonderful things happening around, but I know for myself that it's there. And so on those days, or that 30 seconds of that feeling, I often feel like, holy cow, I went from being an equal partner to this world where everyone's needs come before me, and guess what? They all let me do this. So that's kind of on the bitchy side of it, and then on the other side is kind of the, I have to do this. So, and I want to do this. I'm a mom now. I have other people in my life who depend on me. It's not really appropriate to put myself first anymore. I have to do too much for those around me. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong arrow. All right. So as we talked about, we've created Supermom. And Supermom, like all superheroes, has a trusty companion, and that's mom guilt. And mom guilt is like that crazy roommate you got paired with at some point in your life who is negative, always sees the worst in everything, somehow freakishly smart, good at manipulating everyone around her. She knows your inner workings, and she is going to work on destroying you. Why is never really clear. So she's there. And the other fable or storytelling, I'm sure in all of our houses we have some sort of Disney movie on permanent rotation. In our house it's Frozen, Little Mermaid, and what do we have the other one? Oh, Finding Nemo. But I kind of, Cinderella always speaks to me. And I think the mean stepmom, that, Cinderella's allowed to go to the ball if she finishes all her work, and she raises that bar to, a crazy level. And I think this is how, I know I feel like this a lot. Do I really need to come to grips with the fact that I'm a mother and my goals and my to-do list only matter if I can fit them in after my family's needs? And, I know we all, maybe I can do this after the kids go to bed, or wake up at 5 in the morning, or 4 in the morning, or 6 in the morning. Well, meanwhile, you're dog-tired. You've done everything. And the problem is with this story is you do get all the work done, but this is what you look like as you try to get ready for the ball. So this is actually a picture I took of myself last week, and actually said to the Best Kept Self girls, holy cow, did I do this to myself last week. I talk about mom guilt. I had to be gone for 3 nights for a business trip. And, I really should have been gone for 4 nights, but I crammed it into 3 nights and was doing 20-hour days. And so on Thursday morning, I woke up and I got out of the shower and literally startled myself by like what was staring back at me. And I was
and then sent us photos.
Yeah, and then sent the photos. This is amazing. So this is the challenge with trying to fit your life and your goals in after everyone else's. And this is reality. We're all going to have these days, and it's funny. I should have, even when I told my husband the night schedule, he's like, well, why aren't you spending the night in Milwaukee instead of coming home at midnight? You're useless to me when you get home at midnight. Like, the kid's already in bed. And I kind of was like, oh my gosh, like, I am an idiot. Like, I just killed myself, and this is what you look like when you do that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of so we all really think about mom guilt, and there's actually tons of book. Actually, Mommy Guilt: Learn to Worry Less, Focus on What Matters Most, and Raise Happier Kids, by Julie Bort. She put together a survey that I thought was really really interesting, and this was kind of the top levels of mom guilt for. That all moms feel, and this is across ages. So this is from infants to teenagers, and so these are all the areas that people, or feel guilty about over the time. So spending too much time at work, yelling at the kids, yelling at your spouse, or feeling resentful, not keeping up with the housework, or living in a messy house, not spending enough time with the kids or the spouse. Fairly dividing time, chores, financial resources among children, kids' eating habits, and in this one was not in the list, but I think in the era of Facebook and Instagram, that other moms are handling this better. I think is a really big one. So this is a side note, but one side note on this is when we see these pictures sometimes on Facebook, ours included, I think it's important to know that who's a regular mom and whose part of this is their business. So for instance, part of my business is having things on Facebook, and the pictures I have up on there, some like the one before are a little rare but realistic, and the other ones I've had Megan dress me and Kristen do my makeup and Libby take amazing photos of me in the perfect light, and it's my job and it's other people's jobs to present themselves in a way that promotes their business. And so I think that's an important thing to know. If you kind of keep seeing some pictures and you're like, holy cow, how do they do this? Well, they do this because it's their job. And if people saw your PowerPoints at work, or saw the events you put on, or saw the rooms you decorated for your clients, or the things you did, they would also be freakishly impressed. So I think that's a really important thing to recognize when people on social media, when it's their job. All right, I'm going to take a little sip here of the vino. Who needs to spend on mom guilt? So I think a really important thing is to think about how we address mom guilt and defeating it. And I really like this, and actually Jess and I both like this author very much. And am I saying it right, Jess? Is it Byron Katie?
Byron Katie.
Byron Katie. I totally messed up. So I found her through another blog, and I sent it to Jess, actually working with Jess with my nutrition stuff, and she agreed that she loved her. And what I love about her practice is that it's super fast and simple, and as we all know as moms, like, this is how much time we have to deal with stuff. So when a mom guilt feeling shows up, I suggest really doing a quick analysis, and I find for myself these first two questions are typically all it takes to kind of like help me check myself. So if I'm feeling lousy, do I say, is it true? Well, maybe it's true. Can you absolutely know it's true? Well, no, I can't. Or, or maybe you do, and then you can go further. How do you react, and what happens when you believe that thought? And what would you be without that thought? And so what I would do is I would encourage you to really turn, and then what she recommends is really to turn around that thought. Do I have this example on the next page? Yes. Okay. So we're going to go through an exercise together. All right. So last week, the day I left for that trip that made me look like that picture before, so you could tell I was a little keyed up about. So I dropped Johnny off with our brand new nanny. Ansley had moved to Florida. We're still mourning, but we love our new nanny. And it's the first day of Johnny's new class, which is now with the 4s. And I just didn't kind of realize it was the swimming week at school, and Johnny did not have his swimsuit. So needless to say, I felt like a pretty lousy mom. I'd been so worried about my own trip that I didn't focus on him. And the thought that kind of rushes to your head is, great, what if he never learns how to swim? So let's go. Yeah, I mean, they're laughing about this because they think it's so ridiculous, but these are the things that you think. And so, and this is a pretty benevolent example, but I think it's a good one. I could just kind of go through 1 and 2 and say, no, this is not true. Johnny is of course going to learn to swim. And but it did give me a little bit of a pause and help me think about, what, Johnny's not obsessed with swimming, so I'm okay with skipping some sessions, and I'm confident that he's going to learn how to swim. And when Shauna and I were going through this presentation before, she said, well, what if he was obsessed with swimming? What would that look like? And I said, well, that's a great point. And this is something that Jessica Flowers, who is a conscious discipline coach and my parent coach, you'll notice that's a motorcycle. I'm kind of a badass mama. There's some motorcycle dudes coming to the webinar, and we are welcoming. A good point is, what if this was more serious, or what if this was really important? And something that Jessica really teaches us, and teaches us to teach our children, is you can handle this. You can handle uncomfortable and sad feelings. We all kind of have disappointments, and if missing swimming is disappointing, that's okay to feel sad about that, but you can handle it. And I, as a parent, can have confidence that he can handle those feelings. So it's not the best way I would want to go on a business trip, but I think it's also a pretty comforting thing to prepare ourselves and prepare our children to know that they can handle it. So I think that's this book is awesome, super easy read. It kind of goes into all the stuff. Okay, so let's chit-chat real quick about mom guilt and how we got here. So it's a universal experience. It's often the roadblock that keeps us from addressing what we need to do as individuals. So what I encourage you to do is really kind of feel your mom guilt so you can understand what you're feeling guilt, apply the 4 questions, turn it around, and move on. You got things to do. So a little bit about kind of how I got to this place and why I associate with Mr. Potato Head is when my husband and I were trying to get pregnant with our first child, Johnny. It was a really stressful time. It was during the recession. My husband had a consulting business that was going well, but could have been going better. I was in sales, and my take-home pay was cut in half overnight because, lo and behold, no one's buying anything. And it was a really stressful time. And then on top of that, it took us a year to get pregnant. And I remember feeling that, gosh, whenever I touch my face, it really hurts. Well, we have the baby, we have a healthy baby, things are good. A year later, we get pregnant again with our second baby. I kind of notice it again. I have Max, and actually, I remember the day my cousin and I were on maternity leave around the same time, and we were taking selfies of each other with our thinning hair after maternity leave. After having a baby, your hair often thins, and we both were kind of laughing about it. And then all of a sudden, I really noticed that my hairline was pretty far back. So I went to the doctor, and after about 6 or 7 doctors, we kind of figured out that I had developed an autoimmune disease that thankfully is not life-threatening, but the bummer is I have lost my eyebrows, and my hairline's moving back, and I might, I probably will not win this battle of keeping my hair, but in order to do the best I can at doing that and being healthy, I really needed to change the way I was living. I was kind of putting everyone first, doing the thing where, trying to fit myself in to the last, into the 20 minutes here and there, and my body was telling me, stop, you're a total crazy person, and I will make you bald to make you notice it. So now I joke, I thankfully wear glasses, and I have no eyebrows, and I joke that I kind of have to put my glasses on so you know where my eyes are with my featureless face without eyebrows. And so that is why I associate with Mr. Potato Head. So the blessing of of having an autoimmune disease and having to put myself first and having to create a dialogue with my husband to help us come up with a better plan is, and this is something I kind of think about a lot, and to this day I think about it, is, no one is ever going to say that you've done enough. And no one did say I had done enough. No one had said you are, until my body started screaming at me. We had to come up with a better way. The great news is we did. Eric was always really involved before, so that was a really thankful thing. But as we kind of figured out a better way to do it, we really have become closer and more connected as a couple, and therefore we actually have reverted back to kind of picking up each other's slack. And I notice we both kind of, I'll do the bedtime tonight. You take it easy. Things that kind of a little embarrassed to say didn't always happen. So we created a system that really makes room for everyone's needs and goals. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So this is something that we talk about at Best Kept Self. Kind of, if you work with any of us, you're going to hear this, and it's really about your worthiness and feeling self-worth and putting. So when you don't put yourself first, you can't understand what you really want or you want done, and you don't have clarity on a plan to get things done. So that's like not a good place to be, and I think it's kind of counterintuitive when we think of, I'm really being giving, I'm loving my family, but it's not helpful. So how do we come up with a plan? So this is what I would encourage you. This is by no means an easy exercise and something you just cover in a 1-minute slide, but I would encourage you to take some time and think about what a world looks like. Do this when you've had some sleep, when you're kind of a little bit peaceful. I know those moments can be rare, but what does your world look like when you have enough of what you need? So if you had enough time, enough money, enough sleep, enough security, enough support, and then how does that look in these areas? Your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your kids, your career, your job, maybe not working, your health, your spirituality, your community.
So are you actually writing these things down? Like, are you journaling? Are you creating a mind map? Like I talked about in a previous webinar, is this a physical activity or is this just a mental exercise?
I think it can be either. I think Shauna's productivity webinar that's been recorded that she did last month is awesome, and actually I think really leads you through this exercise. And so I think it's a great place to start, because I think it is something you really kind of need to write down, because you kind of need to, that's kind of the first step in saying that this is important and this is worth it and I'm worth it. And putting pen to paper is a good exercise to do that. So I would encourage you to do that, and then possibly have your spouse do the same. So once you've had a little time to do this, you might be realizing, like most moms, your ideal world is currently not possible with your total workload at home, at work, and with your spouse's workload. I mean, let's not joke. We all know they're working hard too. But you're going to need some help, and to make it a reality, probably the person that's going to play the biggest role is that person, snoring next to you, your spouse. And I think one of the challenges of why we don't want to talk about this with our spouses is that I think, kind of going back to those beginning days of when you've had a baby, you might feel like you created a large part of this problem of you voluntarily took on some of these things. You liked it. You value it, and you still value it, and you still like it. But there needs to be room to do other things. I think the other really big thing is that I think we all really know that the reality is we do have too much on our plate. But I think we're afraid that we're going to be asked to give up something that we really care about. So, and you decided to be a mom, so you need to give up your job, or you need to give up your hobby, or you need to give up your, you need, best kept self is taking too much of your time. It's probably better for you not to do that. Well, and I say to this is not high school. You are not failing biology, and you do not need to give up cheering to have your life. I mean, this is something, your goals, your spouse's goals, your children's goals, all count. And if those hobbies or that, or your job or your extra projects are what you want to do, well, then you need to figure out how to do it. The challenging part is, it's probably going to take some money. That's a difficult discussion to have. I know we all want to be prudent of the resources we have. You don't want to add fighting to your plate, and you know that your spouse's job and hobbies are important to him, and asking him for help could be limiting.
So let's talk about this money thing.
Yes.
Because this is something that anything that we need to do to free up ourselves usually is going to require money, because as I mentioned last time in the productivity webinar, you either have a sacrifice of time or a sacrifice of money, and the issue here is you don't have time to do all of these things, and so there's a force of like, okay, well, now we have to spend some money. And I feel like that's where a lot, I mean, again, I'm ignorant because I don't have kids yet, but I feel like that's where a lot of people get caught up in well, I don't have enough money. So how do you get over that conversation of like getting to the point where you just need to spend it?
Well, I think it's also coming to the thought of, again, what does this world look like, and what would you be willing to do for it? So, there are a lot of things that you're no longer doing. You're probably, again, this fancy wine pairings. You're probably drinking 2-buck Chuck if if you can even get that in by the end of the night. But I would think that the money piece is so critical, because to your point, it really enables things. And so I would just kind of come to the place of, what, I'm not willing to give up my job, or I'm not willing to give up my hobby, but I am willing to give up buying expensive clothes. I am willing to give up going on big vacations. I am willing to drive the car I'm driving for 3 more years. I am willing to pack lunches every day. And those are the things, I think, if you can bring those points of discussion and then think about the value. I'm going to be, if I, back to that resentful, if I give up one more thing, what kind of person am I going to be? Am I going to be the kind of person my spouse wants to be around? Am I going to be loving and to my children? Am I going to be loving to my spouse? I think those are kind of important conversations, and I think it's fair to kind of take some time to kind of get people feeling comfortable with those. I mean, I think people that are frugal, that's a really great value, but having to spend some money in order to be a full human is something that you're worth it, and I think you need to think about that.
And I think, at the core of Best Kept Self with anything that we preach, Jess will preach this about nutrition habits and what to spend on for eating healthy. There's lots of kickbacks to like, some things are just expensive, and that tends to be a justification for people not moving forward. Sometimes it is, but sometimes I think it's that until you really understand what that self-worth is and know that you are worth it, to your point, you're not going to be able to spend that money. And I guess if you could just touch on when it came to the point with the first child and you had to have that conversation of, oh my gosh, I think we need to hire a nanny. Was that like a tough pill to swallow? Like, do you remember that, like being kind of like, was it an easier transition than you thought of spending that money?
It was something, actually, my girlfriend Caroline did it first, and I thought, my kids are in daycare, and so I thought, oh, I don't have a nanny, I have daycare. And what she did, her husband travels all the time, and she travels a fair amount. And she was just getting crushed, and it was really helpful to me to know that, 3 nights of your spouse traveling, whether you're the mom or the dad, is brutal. And so it was great to hear it from another mom that was like, you know what, this sucks, and I'm like not doing well. And so what they did is they hired a nanny in addition to their school to do about 20 hours to do, let's pick up the school kids early, let's bring them home, let's, get the bath, all the things that they weren't loving doing. Let's do the bath, let's do the dinner, and then we're going to come home, not feel rushed to get home or get to school, and we're going to be able to be with the kids. And it was just like, holy cow, you could do that. And it was just a total, it's exactly what I needed as an example. And it's not exactly how we do it. But what we did is actually our kids were in a kind of an expensive daycare. And through some other things, they didn't take babies. So we switched to another daycare. But I switched to like not as prestigious of a school because I have the extra help. And I kind of said, well, the cheaper school, and I can have the nanny, you know. So like maybe they're not learning Spanish sign language, which is a thing, Hola with your hand.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. You can Twitter it. It's a hashtag. But I'm like, I don't care. They are safe and they are in a good school, and I can have the help I need.
Yeah.
And so that, again, that's how we justified it. But now that we do it, I think my husband, it's something that, well, it's a fair investment, but it is something that allows us to be better parents. And I know when I am stressed, I am not a good mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that is the worst feeling in the world, when you like snap at your kid for something that has nothing to do with them. Talk about like feeling like a pile of crap, and talk about mom guilt is those moments. And if I can avoid those moments by buying, jeans at Target and going to a not as good school to have our nanny, I will do that every day.
Got it.
All right. Kind of sweaty. Okay, so, we talked about like what's scary about having this conversation. So let's talk about what's positive about having everyone on board, everyone helping, and everyone kind of chipping in. Is that, the reality is that the studies are saying, this is a great book, Getting to 50-50. It's actually the book that inspired Lean In. And it says that men who do more chores at home fared much better in the bedroom.
Also, that's a brilliant. I don't even care if that's made up. Like,
639 dudes.
I'm gonna post that on the refrigerator. Because,
well, and I think it comes down to those 5 love languages, and which I think are important. That's another great book. The 5 love languages. We all, a lot of women kind of feel those acts of service are, kind of make you hot and horny. Yeah. And we know those moments are
the dishes.
Do the damn dishes.
Want to do the dishes.
Yeah, that is what we need.
Yes.
And actually, a friend of mine, the husband and I were talking the other day, and he said, if I don't take out the recycling bin, my wife feels like I don't love her.
Oh, no.
And if she doesn't send me notes telling me she loves me, I feel like she doesn't love me.
Aww.
And so they have figured these things out. And I think those are the 5 love languages. What are they? Like, touch, acts of service, verbal.
Yeah.
There's some other ones.
Yeah.
There's some other ones. We're drinking here. We're a little sweaty. The other thing is when women work longer hours outside of the home, they want more sex. And so, whether you're working at a corporate job or you're volunteering or you're doing your side project, when you are a human without people watching you pee all day, lo and behold, you want to act like an adult and go, come home and, get it on. The other great thing is children thrive at school. So also great facts about how great it is for dads to be involved in school. Like dads who participate in more than one event a year, which kind of seems like a low bar, have the likelihood of getting more A's and like school and don't have to repeat a class. Again, Getting to 50-50, all this information is in there. There's less pressure on one spouse. And then, sorry, Stephanie, I was reading your comment here. I got a sideline. So yes, good. I love it. I love that your hubby does the chores. I know Eric does the chores. Has been doing more chores, and I've been working really hard to get ready for this tonight. But tomorrow, don't call our house. Okay.
Tomorrow's the night.
Yeah, it's on. we digress. And certainly, as both people are there, you can live to fight another day. You just don't need to fight over bottles when you can fight over things that are really important, like people deleting things from your DVR. So I really suggest this is back to that of, the best way to start this conversation is to create that connection with your spouse. A great friend of mine said to me, date night is cheaper than divorce, and she has a date night every Saturday night, and guess what? I have a date night every Saturday night, and that too is expensive, but this is the thing where, again, that silver lining, we do this and now we are a team. So I would really start with creating this connection with your spouse. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can have date nights at home. You can go sit in the back of your minivan and watch a movie. Just skip bedtime. So how to begin this dialogue with your spouse? You got to know what you want. You got to really believe that your life goals count. Really make room for your spouse. So maybe your spouse isn't doing as much as you would like them for right now. Well, you gotta give them room to try it out. If he never does bath or he's never put bows in hair, let him do it a little crazy. No biggie. If you need to leave the house in order to give them room, I suggest you do that. Again, maybe put them through a little baby boot camp or a kids boot camp, and let them do the whole thing. So if maybe the kids didn't have naps that afternoon, well, let them do the bedtime routine and see the consequences of what that looks like when you don't have naps. And it's not a punishment; it's just a natural consequence. Let's see why it's important. Certainly, again, just showing your spouse that they have a wife and a mother to their children. And find ways for everyone to win each week. I think this is really important, that everyone has something that each week, they can go, this is my thing. This is my thing I'm going to get to do. I get to go play golf. I get to go do my best kept self. I get to garden, whatever those things.
So I have a question on that for your mindset training here. So I think that a lot of couples get caught up in, you've done something 90% of the time, and then once that other partner starts doing that, especially when kids are involved, and they don't do it the same way you do it, it's like, this little pesky, like, how do you stop yourself? Like, because that takes work. Like, that is deliberate. That takes a lot of energy to stop yourself and really ask, okay, really, is it going to make a difference if I point out that this isn't the same? And I feel like that causes so much contempt and conflict. And then once that keeps happening, then partners just move farther and farther away instead of closer together, which could solve so many more things that you're about to talk about. Like, how do you stop yourself?
I think that's a great point, and I think it's really hard to stop yourself. I had this weekend where, I just read about this of this kind of giving your spouse space and giving them the opportunity to do things in their own way. And it, as much as I knew that, and I actually thought I was doing that really well. Again, my husband is kind of badass at taking care of the kids and doing everything, but I still kind of, maybe, I have a parent coach, so let me kind of talk to you about kind of maybe how you could have disciplined a little different, and kind of always a little commentary here and there. And just really this past weekend, I kind of stopped and I said, I'm just going to see how this whole thing goes and give him the room to do it. I'm going to admit, in my head, I'm a little bit of a psycho, and I am, thinking, I'm like, well, gosh, you are talking to him a little rough, or, you're out in the garden again. Well, to be truthful, both times, Johnny, our son, was being a little bit of a smart aleck, and by a little, I mean a lot, and Eric did kind of correct his behavior, and then 2 minutes later, he connected with them, and they were having fun, and Eric dropped it, and Johnny dropped it, and I was like, that's awesome. And so by letting them do the whole cycle, I just kind of saw the proof positive that his way is different than my way, but it's a good way.
And so you kind of wait.
I just wait. You just wait. And then on
feel it, hear your mind say it, and then just hold your breath as long as you can and don't say it.
Just bite your tongue.
No word vomit.
Yeah, just bite your tongue a little bit and see where it's going. And that the whole thing when I thought he was out in the garden, which is his favorite thing. Well, that dude was fixing the garage doorknob that I asked him to fix. And like, I was so thankful when he came in and I did not say anything and he said, oh, I was out there doing that. I was like, oh, that would have been embarrassing. So again, I think you're right, Sean. Just kind of try to bite your tongue, and unless it's a safety issue,
the world's not going to end.
it's not going to end.
Yeah.
Just let it say. I think that was another thing I've read recently. Say yes to more. You know, is it really a big deal if your kids eat dinner on the kitchen floor? Is it a big deal that they eat dinner, you know, not wearing any underpants? Because that's what happens in my house. And I'm saying yes to that. So I need you to support me here, ladies. You know, is it a big deal if they, you know, have ice cream before they go to bed? You know, no. So try to say yes to more things to, you know, make sure you're saying no to the things that really count. So, great question. So, kind of how do we create a master plan? This is kind of the ticky-tacky, and some of this, you might not need this with your spouse. Sounds like some people here are just doing awesome. But, you know, this I think is a great exercise just to kind of get an idea and kind of start to map out what's in your house and what you could possibly outsource. So create a master plan. I would probably recommend coming with a list of kind of what are the main things that are getting done in your house. And when I can get a little more sleep, I'll put a list together for you all and put this in a blog post. But until then, you're on your own. But you know, put a list of, you know, what they like to do. Hey, I like doing the lawn. I like putting the kids to bed, and what they're doing it most of the time. What things they're ambivalent about. You know, I don't care about taking out the garbage. I don't care about washing clothes. What do they hate to do? I hate emptying the dishwasher. What do they not know how to do? So I don't know how to mow the lawn. My husband doesn't really know how to cook dinner that doesn't just have like meat on this table. So those are things to know. Kind of create a list of those things. And then kind of evaluate. Are we uneven? You know, what could we teach each other to do so we have a backup plan? What do we want to share? And what's that rotation look like? Is there a primary on something? And so when I say primary, I mean, like, is there, you know, does dad do the yard work? Does mom do the laundry? You know, and how often does that need to get done? What could we outsource? And what are we agreeing to say no to? So as we talk about what we're uneven about, I would say, you know, this is not the time for the blame game or the victim game. This is about survival, and the goal is that everyone comes out alive. So no matter what the last couple weeks or months or years have looked like, it's not the time. I mean, call your girlfriends, call me. We know you've been doing a lot, but this is the time to come together and kind of start a new day. All right. So I think what's really important is to identify what's mission critical. So what does each spouse need to be able to do every mission critical task, and to do them regularly enough that the kids also accept them doing the role. So what I mean by this is everybody needs to be able to feed children, everybody needs to be able to get children dressed, everyone needs to bathe them, everyone needs to get them to bed, everyone needs to know how to call a babysitter, get them to school, know where karate is. All those things that are going to break the whole system if you can't do them. So make sure you know what those. And again, we've talked about this, making sure, giving the spouse the room and the confidence of doing it, leaving the house if you need to. It can take 3 days to make a habit. So if, you know, bedtime's not something they normally do, let's try to do it for 3 days in a row, and I bet it becomes the kids will accept it, and so will the parent.
And the mission critical stuff is kind of amazing to me, how many spouses don't know what the other spouse is doing. Yeah. In terms of the child. Like, what do you think gets people into that predicament in the first place, where like the husband doesn't know how to do some of these like what the mom would consider pretty basic things, you know, is that like, how does that even come to happen? Because I feel like I see that a lot. It's like, really?
Yeah, and you know, it's one of these things. It just, again, it happens so bizarrely, naturally, that you would never say, of course, this is, you know, back to that partner in crime thing. You know, for instance, my husband leaves the house at 6 in the morning, and so I do every single morning routine. Either I do it or the nanny does it, and so by no fault of his own, he doesn't know what happens in the morning. Mm-hmm. And so so when so it can happen naturally like that. It can happen that, you know, babies only go to sleep a certain way. You know, I mean, a lot of times children create these habits. I mean, they're terrifying.
Yeah.
They're terrifying little creatures that when they're not sleeping, and they only will go to sleep nursing, or they only will go to sleep with you laying in bed with them. I mean, you're just so desperate to get to sleep, you'll do it.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, you know, your spouse might be being really loving, just to say, gosh, I'm giving you up every night to go be with the child. But, you know, but in the same way, he doesn't know how to do it then.
And eventually, you both need to be able to do both these things.
Right.
All these things.
Right. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get sick. Your mom is going to get sick. Something's going to happen, and this is when you can lose your mind, and like that resentment can go through the roof, and you are like no longer a like functioning human person, and you are mad and tired and hurt, and it's just not a good place, and it can take a little while to come back from it. So it's good to have those mission critical things that everyone knows, and so that everyone can step in. So another thing is, you know, so the plan for the things you're going to share. So kind of having a way to automate this. So, you know, who does what and when. Have a plan for automating, so you don't have to discuss it every day. You know, I always take out the garbage. We even have a system for knowing when the dog has been fed. If in the morning the dog bowl is one place, and in the afternoon it's at the other, so we know if the dog has been fed at a certain time of day. We personally rotate every night that I'm home on who does bedtime for our oldest child, who's the one who can like beat the hell out of us. And we do it every night. It's actually really nice. Our son asks us every night, whose turn is it, Mama? Is it your turn, Mama? Is it Dada's turn, Mama? And so it's really great. They see us both doing everything the same. But, for instance, last night I was a little beat to hell, and I had to ask for some help. And I said, you know, I just need you to do this, and it helped with bedtime, and he did. And so what's the plan when you need to ask for help? And you know, it's just as easy as saying, sometimes I'm going to need to ask, and we got to know that that's okay. All right. So again, primary things. It's perfectly fine. I don't think we need to get psycho here on everyone has to do everything. It's okay if someone's primary things like the lawn or the laundry, but, you know, what's the plan if someone needs backup or needs to switch? So, you know, are we okay with the lawn not being mowed for 3 weeks? I guess so. I mean, it's not going to be my favorite thing, but, you know, I don't know how to do it, so.
You'll probably get a letter.
Right. Yeah, we'll get a letter, and then we'll have another week to mow it, and we'll survive. You know, the laundry, if it needs to get done, well, you know, the nanny can help there, or you know, we probably have enough clothes to get through. So, you know, but again, it's just good to know, and good to, again, that kind of slow your roll, that if something that needs to get done that you're not primary on, you kind of need to slow your roll on it and be okay with it not, unless you're ready to learn it, you kind of need to be accepting of it not getting done every single time you want it done. All right. So I think really, again, I've talked a lot about kind of that book, Getting to 50-50, which I think is a totally awesome philosophy. But the reality is, I think, and it sounds like we've got a bunch of great spouses on here that do so much. But I know that even when Eric and I are 50-50, every single thing, everyone there is just still so much that there is just not room for us to be a couple, for us to have things in our life that make us feel like humans. And so what I really encourage is to try to look for a split that looks a little bit more like 40-40 and outsource the other 20. And, this might be 60-40, no, 30-60-30. I mean, we can play with it.
60-30. Yeah.
You might do more. You might do more. He might do more. It's okay. It's okay. But let's focus on the outsource, shall we?
Yeah.
As I think that is the key to success here. So many ways to outsource, and a lot of them don't even cost a lot of money. Many of them do. But if lawn, get your lawn done, cleaning the house, grocery shopping, Amazon Subscribe and Stay. I've been doing this for like all our paper towels and toilet paper. It saves me like that Target trip. The kids, I mean, not outsource everything, but, how can we have babysitting or nannies, carpooling? How can we work with our neighbors? Cooking and eating in general. Hey, if you're eating a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store every night, who cares? If you're eating Chick-fil-A every night, who cares? That's, if that's all.
Just cares.
Just cares.
Of course she cares.
I started with the rotisserie chicken. But this is not a forever thing. Decorating, I'll probably get a tweet that Chevron pillows are out, and I'm just kind of getting ready to get one of those. Presents. Can you kind of bulk up on some of those things, or get some gift cards? Car maintenance, personal grooming. This is something, I know I depend on the Best Kept Self team tremendously here. Jess is my nutritional person. I have like crazy nutrition things I have to do with my autoimmune things, and you know what? I can't keep my arms around it. But Jess is my person that helps me stay healthy. So I'm not an expert there. Jess is. Megan is my stylist, and she'll tell me if Chevron is in or out. And she helps me. We go shopping once a season, and I am good to go with great outfits, and I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about that because she knows me. She knows what I need to do, and she helps me shop, and she helps me save money. We are coupon crazy. We go to the outlets, and we get a lot of clothes for not a ton of money.
And you don't buy all the mistake stuff you would.
Yeah.
If you shopped alone, which we all
right.
do.
Like leather underpants. Don't get those. Those are totally ridiculous.
Let's put them back down.
Let's put them back down. It's not going to help things breathe.
Especially Chevron leather
Oh,
underpants.
no, that is 2013. That is 2013. This is a huge thing. I think have a full bench of people that can help. So we don't have family that likes us. No, we don't have family here. But, if you have family, use them. Have babysitters. This is something that I'm planning to do is using mother's helpers. So, girls and boys that are 12 years old that, you're probably not going to leave your kids with alone, but they could come over on a Saturday while you clean a garage, while you write your blogs, while you, go through the clothes that you need to, send to consignment, all those things. Teenagers, they're good for mowing lawns, babysitting, painting, overnight help. Have people that are there so you can go away for a night, even if it's the Hampton Inn down the street. Just, have someone that can stay with those kids. Cleaning, not just kind of the cleaning where you clean for 4 hours before they come, but we have people, our nanny housekeeper person, for instance, she comes 12 hours a week. She's with the kids about 6 of those hours. The other 6 of the hours, she's cleaning. And I don't mean like dusting. I mean like she is like putting away my breakfast dishes and taking sheets off beds and putting toys away and making it so when Eric and I walk in the door, we can be with our kids for those precious 2.5 hours that we have with them. And Kelsey, I think you have a great point here. The female support system is so important. I mean, you've got to have that dial a friend number when shit hits the fan and you are not handling it. You are not, and we have those days, and it's, and they're not good, and you need to have someone that you can call, that you can really talk honestly about how you're feeling, and maybe how you're feeling about being a mom, maybe you're feeling about how you're being a wife, maybe you're feeling about how your kids, that those are not, those things are tough to say and tough to admit, and the reality is they're short-lived. You know, they're not real things, but you need to be able to get them out, and you need to be able to have some friends who know, and some girlfriends who know, and who aren't going to judge you, and who aren't going to tell you, you know, you need to get some rest, but you know, no one's helping you get any. You just need that support. So I think that's a great point, Kelsey. Good in there, folks. I know we're at the hour. Oh, I think I went too far. So, oh, I think we did. Oh, so what are we okay with saying no to? So this is, we're just missing the no on this slide. We're not going to worry about it. But I think this is also a big thing. Like, what are we okay saying no to? So is it a short-term thing or a long-term thing? So maybe we're saying no right now. I'm saying no right now to, you know, decorating my house in the way that, you know, I see everyone else on Instagram and Facebook doing these amazing things. That's my social media envy, a skill set I do not have. But that's, you know, that's not going to happen in my life right now, and I'm okay with that. We also kind of put the kibosh on traveling sometimes, and that's a short-term thing. Hey, we're not traveling. Max, our youngest, is 18 months. We're not traveling until he's 2. Of course, that's the time when we have to start paying for him, but that's what we're doing. And, you know, those are not long-term things, but maybe you are saying no to some long-term things. Maybe you're saying, you know, I just have no room in my life for X, and coming to those agreements are, I think, just things that are okay. You know, maybe we're saying no to, my family is embarrassingly saying no to church right now. So yeah, that's, you know, getting everyone ready and out the door by 9 a.m. on Sunday morning is a little more than I can handle. And instead of being kind of worked up about it all the time, we're taking a little bit of a hiatus on church right now. But you know, that won't be forever. We're going back, but that's something we're doing. I hope we're okay with that.
Okay, whatever works for you.
That's right. So operationalize and put things into practice. So I'm sharing one with you all tonight of templates and manuals for your most mission critical things. So especially the things that someone is primary on or you are outsourcing. So this one we're sharing with you tonight is a babysitting template. So this is a great one that we kind of put the key areas in, but I left blank because we all know with kids these things change every 2 to 3 to 4 to 6 months. But have things that are, but have the things in it that are concrete. So there's some things in there like, you know, what are the neighbors' names? What are the doctors' names? And then things that change, like what do they eat? What do they not eat? You know, those change all the time. But I would do these things as they naturally occur. So, you know, maybe your mother-in-law is coming and she wants to take the kids for the day. You know, putting together a manual on, you know, what the daily schedule is. You know, maybe you have someone coming to do the cleaning. You know, put a manual together. And you know, manual is kind of like a overly serious word. Put a one-pager together on when you say I want the kitchen clean. What does that mean? You know, I kind of put it in that. In my housework thing, I put it in first priority, second priority, third priority. I want my kitchen and my living room and my dining room straightened up no matter, like, as the first thing. If you don't get to anything else, that's fine. The third, you know, the second thing is the bathrooms. The third thing is the bedrooms. Fourth things is, you know, linen closets, like those ever get to. So, you know, just think about how you think about things, but I would spend a little time putting pen to paper so that you can have other people help. You need to be able to enable help. Okay. Backup plan. So having that backup plan for all mission critical things, that's what that babysitter template is helpful. But also have something plan where, you know, how do we get a babysitter if the babysitter cancels, or how do we, you know, how do you do the things that have to get done? The best case scenario, you and your spouse go away. Worst case scenario, you're sick or your babysitter cancels. So this is something that, again, we kind of do informally, but I think can be done either informally or formally, and is a helpful way, on Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday night, whatever it is, just to kind of talk about what the weekly plan is, and put this together. So again, this is the template I have, and then we kind of put this on our chalkboard. But is there someone who needs a focus this week? So again, this week and last week I was traveling, and then this week with Best Kept Self, to be honest, I've kind of been the focus this week. I think, it's a good thing just to kind of say that out loud and say, maybe that's your spouse, maybe they have a big meeting or an interview coming up, maybe it's a kid, it's the first week of kindergarten, or they have swimming lessons. Then detailing out the logistics, the schedule, who is going where and when, who's picking up kids from school, who's dropping off, and then really kind of scheduling in some time for the important stuff. Quality couples time, quality family time. What are we going to do together as a family this week or this weekend? I think this is a really big thing. My friend really taught this one to me, quality individual time, that each adult has one night or one morning or some part of a day that they can go and do something, on their individual time. So, maybe they go to the gym, maybe they go golfing, maybe they work on their hobby, but something where they don't have to be home after work, or, again, we have kind of traditional hours, maybe it's the morning time for you all, but something where each adult gets to do kind of something on their own. And then the other important things, exercise, when and where are you going to do that, so you actually make sure, it gets done. That mindfulness, so Jess taught me this. I thought exercise was also kind of like mindfulness and spiritualness, but it's not. So you have to add something else to your list. You have to exercise, and you have to be mindful, which is awesome. But but that's, to be honest, that's kind of where you need to think about where you're gonna have some peaceful time to meditate, and where you're really, Jess, how would you say that? How would you say rejuvenate or
refresh, rejuvenate, recharge?
Yeah. So
you get into your own personal positive headspace so that you can handle the rest of your day, the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's great. So I was thinking, I guess I was confused, that I thought kind of running at a pace where I was almost throwing up was kind of recharging and peaceful.
But in fact, it was the opposite.
Yeah. So I've added this one to my list, mindfulness. And what are you saying no to this week? Gosh, we have that. We were invited to that block party, but that's during nap, and you have to make a casserole, and that's just never going to happen. Seriously, these girls don't have children. They just laughed at me for saying casserole. I want everyone to tell me your favorite casserole that you make right now. But yeah, so, and then what can get pushed if we have to? So, hey, if we have to, I can give up my, some weeks I can give up my girls' night. But, this week I can't give up Best Kept Self. Oh, no, ma'am, I cannot. But I think it's kind of a good to have a primary, and then to be mindful that, okay, so the last 2 weeks have been a little bit of the Margaret show, so I'm going to be really mindful the next couple weeks to really put Eric and the kids kind of more as the focus. And I kind of do this on a daily basis as well. I kind of think every day something in my life is the big winner and something's a little bit of the loser. But some days work gets the best of me, and some days my kids get the best of me, and some days my husband. And it all kind of evens out. But this is a nice way to, again, be pretty mindful about it. And I think it's also something where it's a reality that sometimes you or your spouse is going to need the focus for more than a week. You might need it for 2 months. You might need it for 3 months. You might need to get them through medical school. You might need it for years. But this also creates the opportunity to have the discussion of what you need as the person supporting that person to be that same person who can support them. how can you feel fulfilled and rested and the human that you want to be, so that you can continue to support the goals that you have decided on as a family that are important. So just a nice exercise. And then again, we put it up on our chalkboard of kind of not every single thing, but the major details. Just talked about this a little bit when things need to adapt. You know, sometimes they do. Sometimes things just can't be 50-50 or 40-40, and sometimes, you know, we just need to dig in. And this is where that connection with your spouse is so critical, and because you're really going to need to depend on each other and to hold each other up, so that you can be the parents and the children and the employees and all the things that you need to be in this world. And so, you know, we need to know we're going to need to roll with it. But I think we also just need to go back to that, you know, we're all worth it, and rolling with it doesn't mean being the most miserable human being on the planet. Rolling with it means, you know, sure, you're going to do bedtime 4 out of 5 nights, but on that 5th night you're going to the movies by yourself and you're getting a babysitter. Mm-hmm. So that's that. Let's go to this last one here. So I think with married, with children and careers, or in, you know, careers, whether that's important or not, you know, I think really the important thing is by asking for help and sharing the family and the house responsibilities, you're going to be able to look and act like the woman they married, only stronger, better, and maybe with a bit more money to keep looking like the foxes that you are. And the reality is you can't do it all, but find out what you don't want to do anyways, like the toilets, and skip it or outsource it. Life is short. And then finally, a couple challenges here. I think it's also an important challenge, and I think we've seen it a lot here, to say, you know, we talk a lot about working moms, or, you know, moms in general, but I think, you know, let's maybe change the dialogue from working mom to working parent. And, you know, I'm even thinking about things of right now we have a lot of Facebook groups that are, you know, blah, blah, blah moms group, you know, and I think maybe we should change those to, you know, neighborhood parents group, as dads really want to be part of this, and I think they're showing us every day that they want to be part of our families, part of their kids' lives and our husbands, and so let's have them be part of the conversation. I see in Google Calendar, I see from Stephanie is a lifesaver. So I'd love to hear about that, Stephanie, because I feel like I've tried that with my family and has not been adopted. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I will, but I'm also, you know, encourage, you know, if people would want to talk more, we're doing crash consults. As Shauna mentioned, I am, you know, I work during the day, and I also have kids, so but probably similar to you, I work with people in the morning and in the evening. I don't work with a lot of customers at once, so I don't look like that woman I showed you earlier. Yeah. If I could work the technology, I would. I'll be happy to send that to you. I've been showing it to everyone. I'm secretly proud of it. But you know, I do currently have space to take on about 2 new clients right now for crash consults, and would love to have you. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to go to our website or just email us. All that stuff's on the website. And what else? Oh, should we, do you want to do the best kept selfie? And
yeah, so if you haven't seen already, one of our biggest campaigns is our Stop the Madness campaign, which is all about promoting positive self-talk. And so what we're doing there is #BestKeptSelfie. And if you haven't done it already, you can go to our website, and you'll see either at the top there's a menu item that says Best Kept Selfie, and then on the right-hand side there's a bunch of sidebar ads that say it as well. But we have all these women all over the world posting their best kept selfie of themselves holding a sign, talking about, their most positive qualities. And again, this all boils down to self-worth and knowing what that is, because until we get that part of it in place, a lot of this stuff just doesn't fall into place. So that's first and foremost the foundation of it entirely.
Yeah, so we'd love to see yours. You can see a bunch of them, and just kind of put some notes on it. My best kept self is keeping it real, and that's what we do in my house. Is sometimes things are crazy. Sometimes we're eating dinner without our pants on in the middle of the floor, but that's all right. We're getting some chicken nuggets and vegetables in.
And if you have any more questions for Margaret, we're going to hang out here for a few more minutes, and you can post them in the chat box either publicly or privately, and Margaret will answer them live. Personally, I don't know if any of our collective members have any questions, but I think one that I have is, get ready, it's a tough one. So. And I haven't even quite formulated the exact question, but
safe place.
Something along the lines of one of the, and you don't have to share exactly what the dark moment was, but one of the moments in your life, maybe with the first child, before you didn't have these things in place. You're a pretty organized person to begin with, but you still had to learn to put these things in place at a certain point. So prior to having this system down, understanding what mission critical things were, having the weekly template, I mean, what was life like before for you? And can you give us an example of when you had just a really low moment of handling all those things, and how what was kind of the first thing that crossed your mind about how to get out of that?
I think one of the hardest things that I've had is, again, when Eric and I have always just been so good at being 50-50 that maternity leave always really messed with us. And I'm kind of, I've just always thought I would love it, and everyone's, oh, I don't want to go back to work, and I kind of I'm just not I'm not very good at slowing down, and so I kind of would take the same intensity that I have at work and with everything else, and I would kind of put it into maternity leave, which is psycho. It's psycho, and so I would be doing all this and having the baby, and we went, and I remember every time Eric would come home, I would be, we went for a walk, we did this, I kind of cleaned this up, and I made this dinner, and I was trying to kind of get the same level of accomplishment that I felt from my work from being a great mom and being a great housewife. And I was, if I'm going to be home for 3 months, by God, I'm going to be great at it. And what was really hard is that, Eric didn't really value it. And he wasn't by any means mean about it, but I, going back to that self-worth, I was killing myself, and it didn't seem to make any difference. It didn't seem to, nobody seemed better for it, and I didn't feel any better about it. And then 4 seconds later, it's all ruined. You have to, all the toys are out, the dishes are messy, the, diapers have to be repacked, and it was really hard to kind of try to get my self-worth from trying to kind of be this thing, and that I'm not. And I feel again, Eric wasn't saying anything or doing anything, but it just wasn't the right fit for me. And so it was kind of one of those things where I needed to, I needed to get my ass back to work, and I did. And once I got back to work, I was a much happier person. But it was something that I kind of had to really recognize that, my best kept self is not at home and not home all day. My best kept self mom is not, being with my children 24/7. In fact, I go to Target and go to lunch with my friends. They would never know their colors if they were with me all day. And so I kind of had to really accept that, and that didn't really look like many other people I knew. And but I think Eric was actually, this is a place where he was really encouraging of saying, I think it would be okay if you went back to work. And I did. I ended up going back to work early the first time. And so I don't know if that kind of answers it.
Yeah. No, definitely. So the next webinar over wine is going to be Wednesday, September 24th, next month. And next up, we have Jessie, our holistic health coach.
What?
And
It's viral.
it's going to be an awesome one. I will say, just like, you know, every single person on our team is just an incredible, I can't even put it into words. Like, everyone's just amazing, if you haven't discovered already. And Jess is just one of those people from the day that I met her that has significantly changed my life in terms of how I think about food and how I think about treating myself and what I put in my body, and not even just that, but the deeper implications of all those things, and truly, truly life-changing. And so the thing that she's going to be talking about next month is, you know, there's so much stuff out there, a lot of it being just crap in terms of, you know, nutrition and diet and all this, you know, advice on eating clean and eating healthy. It's so much, and you never know what to trust. And the bottom line is, it still boils back to being something very personal and unique from person to person. So she's going to kind of give you a framework and a do-it-yourself version of how you can create your own plan that actually works for you.
Exactly. Well said.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
So look forward to that next month. If you have any more questions or any comments, you can tweet us, you can email us. You've got our hashtags and our handles down below. Any parting words, Margaret?
Gosh, no, I was just like, just so happy to be with all of you, and just appreciate the time you gave us tonight. I know it's not easy getting an hour and a half during bedtime or spouse time or you know, Netflix binge time. So thanks for giving it to us, and hope you had a nice time with us.
Bye.
Bye.